Hello, and welcome to another hair-raising episode of Furries in the Media, the series that reviews videos and other media based on how the furry fandom is represented. So Abergwine, what are we covering today? Well, Sam, today we're going to take a look at a 2019 video created by Anthony Padilla, where he sits down to talk with some furries. Anthony Padilla is a content creator who's probably best known for his involvement in SMOSH, alongside Ian Hickox. Hey, didn't we review SMOSH the movie at one point? Yes, we did, Sam. In fact, Anthony was the one who was transported to that furry party.
I sure hope his view of furries has changed since then.
Well, I think you might be pleased with this video then. Anthony Padilla left SMOSH in 2017 in pursuit of his own independent film projects. Among these projects is a series called I Spent a Day With, where Anthony sits down to talk with people from a specific group to better understand them.
The premise sounds kind of like Jubilee's video.
Yeah, it is kind of reminiscent of Jubilee's Ask Me Anything series, but Anthony's series is definitely more informal. By the way, if you do watch the video for yourself, just be aware that there is censored language, references to drugs and alcohol, and brief mentions of sex. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The video starts out with Anthony introducing furries as a misunderstood group of people who are ostracized for their form of self-expression, often being called scary, sexual, or even disgusting. Why do they feel most comfortable wearing costumes, and what are they really like in their day-to-day lives? Is it sexual? Anthony sits down with some furries to find out the truth behind the furry fandom. We're then introduced to the furries: Ruby, Milo, Aaron, and Bo.
Hey, didn't Jubilee have Bo in their Ask Me Anything series?
They sure did, Sam. Anthony begins by asking how they refer to themselves. Is it furry, furries? Milo and Ruby both agree that they refer to themselves as a furry. Bo says he would call himself a fursuit maker and costume artist. Aaron says he doesn't really like to label himself as furry, even though he is one, but he ultimately gives Anthony permission to refer to him as a furry. Anthony's next question for the furries is, what do they do? Bo says he's been making fursuits since he was 13. Aaron says he's a furry artist, and Milo is also a furry artist and a fursuiter, explaining that he has a fursuit and he wears it at conventions. Ruby says she mostly runs around in an animal costume getting drunk. Anthony asks whether Aaron also wears a costume, and Aaron says that he pretends to be a dog at conventions before clarifying that he doesn't literally act like a dog, but rather getting into character and acting silly. Anthony then asks, what is a fursona? Bo says that it's subjective, but for him, his fursona is like his own personal main character. Anthony asks Aaron to tell him more about his fursona, and Aaron introduces Cozy, saying, I love dogs, so therefore I am a dog. Anthony jokes, I love pizza, while pointedly looking into the camera, and Aaron says same. Milo introduces his bat dog fursona Tiki, and Ruby introduces her cat fursona. Bo puts on his fursuit head and explains that his fursona is a shark dinosaur. Anthony asks Milo whether he refers to himself as Tiki when he wears the head, and Milo responds that he doesn't speak when he wears the costume. Anthony asks him what that would look like, and Milo puts on the head, and Anthony plays out a scenario of meeting him. We then cut to a similar scene with Ruby, who presumably also doesn't speak in costume either. Anthony asks Milo if he bought his fursuit or if he made it. Milo says that his friend made it for him. Aaron says that he bought his fursuit. Ruby says that she made the fursuit that she brought with her, but that she has others that she's bought. Anthony asks about the process, and Ruby tells him that it takes about 2 weeks to make one if that's all you're doing, and a few months if you're taking time to eat, sleep, and breathe. Bo says that he could make just a head in a couple days or a week, but that he made his full bodysuit in 2 weeks because he was rushed for a convention. Anthony then asks Aaron if fursuits are expensive, and Aaron says that the range can be anywhere from $700 to $7,000. Ruby says that she wanted her costume to be made by someone else, but it would have cost $4,000. She admits that it would have been worth that price, but she needed a car at the time. Milo says that a fursuit is really expensive and difficult to maintain once you have it. Anthony's next question is why they became furries. Bo says that when he was 12, he saw a video of a group of fursuiters dancing, and he told his dad he wanted his own fursuit. Aaron would draw pictures of his dog, and he wanted to improve, so he looked up how to draw dogs on Google. Back with Bo, he says his dad told him to make his own fursuit instead of buying one, and that's how he started his own fursuit making business. Back with Aaron, he says that he found tutorials for how to draw cartoon dogs, and that led him to a furry website. Anthony asks Milo what attracts him to the furry lifestyle most, and Milo responds that it's the community. Ruby says that as far as being expressive, open, and honest, she feels safest doing so in the furry community. Milo says that everyone is very open and accepting, and that there's a low tolerance for hate. Anthony's next question is, what is the worst part of being a furry? Aaron says fur shedding and getting everywhere. Ruby says that it's not getting to go to as many events as she'd like to because it can be a very expensive hobby. Anthony jokingly clarifies that the worst part of being a furry is that she can't be more of a furry, and Ruby agrees. Anthony asks what kind of looks do they get when people see them in their costume, and Milo acts out how people sometimes react. Anthony asks Aaron if people react positively when they see him in his costume, and Aaron responds that they do. He says he's had a few negative interactions, but that it's neither here nor there. Anthony's next question is what is the most extreme place that they've worn their fursuits? Milo says that he wore his fursuit at a convention where the temperatures reached 110 degrees Fahrenheit, but he kept the head on because he didn't want to break character. Anthony asks if he put ice packs into the head, and Milo says he didn't, but admits it would have been a good idea. Aaron says he wore his fursuit to a Panic at the Disco concert. Ruby says she's worn her fursuit while out snowboarding and ice skating. Anthony asks if there are any special tricks to keep from overheating. Milo says that there are designated rooms at furry conventions called headless lounges, where fursuiters can take their heads off. Bo says that he normally wears a scuba diver undershirt that keeps him cool, but he doesn't have that today, so he's just wearing a t-shirt and some boxers. Ruby says that she plays a lot of sports and that her longest stretch of wearing her suit was 14 hours. Anthony's next question is what happens when they need to go to the bathroom while wearing the suit. Aaron says he takes off the fursuit and then he goes. Bo says that you take the costume off and then go to the bathroom. Aaron says this was a stupid question. Anthony says that he's seen furries dancing, and he wonders if there are any signature moves or dances that their personas have, and we get a quick montage of Aaron blowing a kiss and Ruby and Bo dancing in their fursuits. Anthony then asks them what they think the most common misconception about furries is. Milo says it's sex in suits. Bo gives a similar response and acknowledges that it does happen, but nowhere near as often as people might think, mentioning that the majority of furries are young artists and kids. Milo says that if you feel like you're dying while walking inside one of these costumes, it's not going to be fun in a suit when you feel like you're inside of a couch. Anthony's next question is what their parents think of their furry lifestyle. Milo responds that his parents are super supportive and that they see it as a hobby. Aaron says that his mom loves it. Ruby says her folks think it's cute. Bo says his family supports his fursuit making business. Now Anthony asks a question that was sent by Carissa C. How fast can you run on all fours? Which prompts a snort from Milo, and Aaron says, not very fast. Bo says not fast at all, but he says he could probably crap walk pretty fast. Anthony asks the furries what they think his fursona would be. Milo says a cool dog on a skateboard. Aaron says that he already made Anthony's fursona, and he introduces his rendition of Anthony Padilla. Bo says a lion because of his hair, and Anthony says that he'd be Mufasa the furry, and Bo jokes that he never thought he'd be the one cringing. Anthony says that he took an online quiz and got a different result. We cut to him stepping back into the room wearing a sloth costume, and we are introduced to Anthony's fursona that was discovered via online quiz, Slade the Sloth. Aaron stifles a laugh, and Bo lends Anthony his costume's prop to complete the look. Milo plays along, saying he loves the fursuit. Anthony tells him he got it for $50, and Milo says that's a bargain. Aaron shows Anthony that he can put his fingers inside the costume's claws and says he looks stupid while laughing. Anthony then leans into the character of Slade the Sloth, and Ruby plays along before inevitably cracking up. Anthony asks if they have any critiques for his fursuit, and Bo says not to wear it in public. The video wraps up with a final voiceover from Anthony. He says that furries aren't that different from anyone else, they just enjoy taking on different personas to express themselves. Anthony asks, quote, "Who are we to judge someone who's just living their best self?" He says that if anything, the confidence that furries have to express themselves in the face of such a negative public perception should be respected. Now let's take a look at those review stats. Information accuracy is 100%, and the spirit is also 100%, coming to an average of, you guessed it, 100%. Congratulations, Anthony Padilla! And now time for my thoughts. Anthony Padilla's video, I Spend a Day with Furries, took an informal but ultimately respectful approach to understanding the furry fandom. The humor in the video was laughing with furries rather than at them, and the questions Anthony asked were, for the most part, respectful. It was the how do you go to the bathroom question, wasn't it? Well, yeah, I have to admit that question made me wonder why Anthony even asked it in the first place. Was there a certain kind of answer he was looking for? It doesn't seem like he was trying to shoehorn the furries' responses into a predetermined narrative or anything.
Why didn't he ask the same question of the cosplayers or mall Santas he interviewed?
Cosplayers and mall Santas often do spend long hours out in public spaces in costume, but there's something else that sets them apart from furries. Do you know what that is, Sam?
I'm not really sure what you're getting at, Abby.
Cosplayers and mall Santas generally aren't as connected to the characters they portray as furries are. At least I believe that's the public's general conception. I think the average non-furry would believe that a furry's persona is an important part of their personal identity, and for many furries it is. If wearing a fursuit helps a furry to feel more like themselves, Why would they ever want to take it off?
Now it makes a little more sense why he asked that question.
At least that's my best guess as to why Anthony asked this question. If this is indeed why he asked, I think it would have been more beneficial to show more of a lead up to such a question so that it doesn't seem like it was just sprung onto the furries. If nothing else, it was refreshing hearing Aaron say that it was a stupid question, but I didn't take off points for this because it is a fair question if you see it from that perspective. Honestly, this was the only thing that raised an eyebrow for me. I really did enjoy the rest of the video. While Anthony does provide narration at the beginning and end introducing the audience to furries, most of the information in the video comes from the furries themselves. The furries are given a chance to define what a fursona is and talk about their own fursonas. If you didn't already know, a fursona is a unique animal character that a furry creates as a representation of themselves. Another thing I thought was interesting was seeing how Bo and Aaron found the fandom through different means. Furry is a decentralized fandom, meaning that there is no central piece of media that all furries are expected to consume or be familiar with in order to be a furry. I'm a little lost. Think of it like this. The Brony fandom wouldn't exist without My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and the Harry Potter fandom wouldn't exist without the Harry Potter books. The furry fandom could exist without specific pieces of media like The Lion King or the Redwall series, or even specific characters like Lola Bunny or Robin Hood, but it could not exist without the concept of anthropomorphized animal characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Good. Another thing about this video that I really appreciated was the emphasis that was placed on just how big of a deal fursuits really are in the furry fandom, as well as just how labor intensive and expensive they can be. I've never made a fursuit, but like Bo and Ruby were saying, making a fursuit is a very involved process that can take a good while to complete, even for fursuit makers who know what they're doing. The range of prices that Aaron lists sounds correct. A good quality fursuit head could go for about $700, and a full body fursuit with all the whistles and bells could easily go for $7,000. Of course, prices can run lower or higher depending on the quality and complexity of the suit or suit pieces that are being made. Milo mentions that maintaining a fursuit is difficult, and I can personally attest to that. Most fursuits have to be carefully hand washed and set out to air dry because the materials most fursuits are made from require special care. Oh, and you have to brush the suit too.
Brush your suit!
Given that all 4 of the furries in the video are fursuit owners, I wish that it would have been mentioned somewhere in the video that you don't need a fursuit to be a furry, but since many furries do aspire to have their own fursuit, I don't really see this as a problem. One question I really liked was when Anthony asked if the furries have any tricks for dealing with overheating. Milo talks about headless lounges, and many furry conventions do indeed have a headless lounge that is set up with fans and water stations so a suitor can get out of their fursuit and cool down in relative privacy. Bo's trick for dealing with overheating is to wear a scuba diver undershirt, and while I had never heard of wearing a scuba diver undershirt specifically, many fursuiters do indeed wear sweat-wicking garments underneath their suits, even in places with air conditioning.
Are there any other tricks?
Some fursuiters carry a long straw with them so they can drink water while wearing their fursuit head. Some carry small personal fans, and most fursuit heads are designed to provide adequate ventilation through the costume's eyes and mouth, and sometimes the base of the ears. Handy as such tricks are for beating the heat, I doubt it'd be enough to combat 110-degree weather, and I would very strongly advise against wearing a fursuit in such conditions, even if you did put ice packs into the fursuit head. Extreme temperatures aside, I'd say that Ruby wearing her fursuit for 14 hours straight is on the extreme to inadvisable in for how long fursuiters wear their suits for. The average length of time that a fursuiter might typically spend in their fursuit would be closer to a couple of hours, and most fursuiters only wear their suits a handful of times a year. The biggest thing I love about this video is that it's very clear that Anthony's goal with this video, and other entries in this series, is to better understand the people he's interviewing and share this understanding with the audience. The questions serve as a framework rather than a driving force, allowing the interview subjects to really show the audience who they really are. The informal approach makes the video fun, and it really feels like Anthony is laughing with the furries rather than at them.
Quite a departure from Anthony's last run-in with furries.
Quite so. It's nice seeing that Anthony's position on furries has changed over the years, or at least having some sort of confirmation that that scene doesn't reflect how he feels about furries nowadays. So Anthony Padilla, thank you for taking the time to better understand us furries. We very much appreciate it. Well, that's it for today's episode of Furries in the Media. Have fun, stay awesome, bye-bye!